Thank you all for coming out. I'm a renting artist at McGuffey Art Center. We are so excited to be able to share this virtual short film screening event with you through McGuffey. McGuffey is one of the oldest artist-run cooperatives in the country and is located in a historic elementary school building in downtown Charlottesville. The Art Center is a community of artists dedicated to practicing art and passing on the creative spirit to the greater Charlottesville community through creating opportunities for increasing access to art for all. Before we get started, I am going to run through some quick Zoom etiquette for this session. Please be mindful to keep yourself muted for the duration of this talk. People should be muted as they enter, and once it gets started, we would appreciate that. The mute button is on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. The session is being recorded and will be available for viewing after the talk today on McGuffey's website, as well as our YouTube channel. So that being said, if you don't want your face to be recorded, you can turn off your video using the button in the bottom left-hand side of the screen as well. If you have questions or comments you want to share or want to interact with other folks here today, you can use the chat function to type in questions. The chat function is located in the bottom center of the screen. I will be keeping an eye on the chat box, and we'll bring in relevant questions after Derek interviews Ellis today. So we'll be doing audience Q&A mostly at the end of that. We're happy to have you here today for Ellis's film screening and Q&A. So, sorry, I'm talking familiarly about him. Who we have today with us is Ellis Finney. He has films in the show titled Water, the Agony and Ecstasy of the Black Experience. Today we will be screening 3 short films by him titled But I Wanted to Be a Cowboy, Moments Slip Through Our Hands Like Water, and Cleft Lip Boy. Curated by the Charlottesville Black Arts Collective, CBAC, Water, the Agony and Ecstasy of the Black Experience is a multimedia exhibition featuring the work of 25 Black artists from the state of Virginia. This exhibition seeks to take viewers through a journey using water as a metaphor for the Black experience. Artists featured in this exhibition were asked to deliver work exploring the interconnection of water and Black life, based on prose written by writer and photographer Corey Price. The exhibition is currently on display on all floors of McGuffey Art Center and ends this weekend. You can see it tomorrow still if you'd like to. Guests can view the exhibition online as well as at mcguffeyartcenter.com. So to begin, I'll start with introducing our featured guest for the evening, Ellis Finney. Ellis Finney is currently a senior at James Madison University. He's majoring in English. His films have played in festivals throughout the United States. Interviewing Ellis after the screening is Derek Waller. Derek is a photographer and painter residing in Charlottesville. He's an art organizer and is one of the founding members of the Charlottesville Black Arts Collective, as well as a loving father and husband. Today, we're going to be sharing each of the short films, and our special guest, Ellis Finney, will share a little context about each of those works. Thank you so much for joining us, Ellis. Would you start us off by sharing a little bit about your work and introduce us to your first short film?
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. When it comes to my work, I struggle with characterizing it just because I still feel like a newbie in a lot of ways, you know? So when it comes to my work, it's really just whatever moves me in the moment. So for the moment that was But I Wanted to Be a Cowboy, that was made in the context of a gap year between my sophomore and junior years of college. I was pretty frustrated, pretty confused during that gap year. And I feel like that comes through, I think. And the original idea for that movie was actually inspired by 2 things. The first was a painting by Amy Sherald called All American. And I just love that painting. It has a certain quality to it. I think all of her work has a certain quality to it. But I just really like the idea of Black cowboys. You know what I mean? I just think that's awesome. And the second thing was I was actually listening to a song called Dreams from Yesterday. And I forget the lyric, but the lyrics in there actually inspired the situation. And I guess the first image or scene that first came into my mind for that film was just a kid laying on the grass, with his headphones in, thinking about being a cowboy. But eventually, that just morphed into that short film. So
Amazing. Thank you for the context. This is great prep. We're going to screen it now. Sri is going to share her screen. So everybody buckle in. I'm going to mute everybody.
Nah.
You owe me 25 cents if I can get this.
Alright. If you don't get it, you owe me 25 cents.
That's not the deal.
Oh, so you got the deal.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get it.
Because I came up with this.
You owe me 50 cents if you can't get it. So I guess you better get it.
I never agreed to that.
Cents.
Oh, look. That's $1 right
nah,
there. Double or
crazy.
nothing.
Nah.
Double or nothing.
Double or nothing, he says. Get out of here, boy. Yo, it's hot.
Damn, that was like right there.
No, it wasn't.
Could you get that for me, please?
I got you. School. Let me go get something in the car, man. I like things on my mind, but I don't know.
Speak your mind.
Man, I think I want to dance. I don't know, man.
You know what?
Huh?
You just said something.
Oh, man, nah, forget it, man.
Nah, bro, speak your mind. What's up? You got something you want to say? Now just say it.
Said I think I want to, I don't know.
You want to what?
Maybe dance? I don't know. No, man. Yeah, I feel like dancing right now.
You want to dance.
Right now.
Right
Just get my mind off of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
How often is this on your mind?
I don't know, just maybe right now, man.
Just
You're acting
right
like
now?
I'm saying I want to be a dancer. I'm just saying I want to dance right now.
It seems like something that's on your mind quite a bit, bro.
Nah, man. Forget about it, man.
Okay, bro. You do you. Like,
What about you? What do you want to be?
I don't know.
You don't know. There's nothing you want to do right now, and there's nothing you want to do later in life.
I don't know, man. I don't really think about that.
So right now, what do you want to do?
I just want to chill.
That's crazy. And what do you want to do 20 years from now?
I don't know, man. Probably join the military or something.
Military. Hey, that's something, man. Left, right. I ain't doing all that.
Bro, but if you want to dance, I mean, like, go do you. Like, that's fine, but like, I don't think that's like realistic. You know, I don't think that's something that could actually happen. I think something that you wish and you want it to happen, but like, you know, deep down inside that it will never happen.
Hey man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're not in charge of life, man. Like you're not the person who's got the life book. Left, right, left, right. That's what this guy's about to do with his life. Listen and take orders. That's crazy. Yo, you're not gonna believe this.
What? What?
Yo, is there somebody there or no? But you're definitely not gonna believe this, yo. This is what I heard, right? This is just what I heard. So like, I'm not saying it's real, and you ain't gotta believe me.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandma told me about this pair of boots, right?
Oh, a pair of boots?
Cowboy boots, right?
Okay.
And she said...
Oh, you say cowboy boots?
Yeah, cowboy boots. You looking at me, right? Cowboy boots. Boom. Okay, cowboy boots.
I just want to make sure if you're serious.
Okay. And she was like, listen. She's like, there's a pair of cowboy boots out in the woods. And whoever can fit into those cowboy boots gets one wish. Like I said, she's right. That sounds kind of nuts. One wish. What world do we live in? But that's what she told me. Do I think they're real? Look at me. Does this look? Yeah, they're real. But our dreams. Oh, it's getting hot. Dude, don't blow the smoke in my direction.
It's the wind. You're downstream of it.
Jeez, man, this guy trying to give me secondhand smoke and I'm already high. That's like double secondhand smoke.
think it's something that you like, you wish and you want it to happen, but like you know deep down inside that it will never happen.
I found these boots in the woods a couple days ago. They don't fit me, but I want you to have them.
That was amazing, Ellis.
Wow. I'm clapping. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the sound of those. This is a little thing. I love the sound of those wind chimes. And whenever I hear them back home now, I always think of that time of making the movie. So yeah. Yeah. Trying to articulate how I feel like, because that movie was made 2 years ago in the summer of 19. In a lot of the ways, that feels like the start of whatever path I'm on now. I feel like that's where it started. And it started, like I said, pretty humbly, because so the two actors in there, Jalen, who wants to be the cowboy, he studied acting at VCU. He just graduated this winter. Then my close friend, Pa Annabelle, we actually went to school together at JMU, and he graduated last year. That week was like literally one of the best weeks of my life, because we all were just at my house for that week, and we would film. So the sun and the lighting really dictated when we were busy. So for one day, maybe we would film towards the beginning, the first half. In that later half, we would just eat, watch movies, and edit the film, which was, yeah, that week was amazing. I love that week. So, and then another thing that I really want to say is that Pa, even though he's not necessarily, he doesn't have a degree in acting, and he doesn't even necessarily think of himself as an actor, is amazing. They're both amazing, amazing artists. And if they were here for this, they'd probably be like, no, I'm not. But they are next level, seriously. Yeah, you're gonna see them at the Oscars one day, for sure, for sure. those two were just amazing.
The acting felt really, really great, and the whole film was just such a beautiful film. Yeah, I love the soft focus, and we won't get into it right now, but we can talk about them later. But I'll let you talk about your next film.
Yeah. The next film, Moments Slip Through Our Hands Like Water. That next film is would not have come into fruition without McGuffey Art Center, just point blank. Especially with the prompt that was written, which was written really beautifully. At first, the first idea was just a shot of the water and my grandmother telling stories of her past and the family. And there's a version of that somewhere on this hard drive on my computer. But as I was thinking of that, I came across our family archive, which is just our photo books. And looking through the photos, it was really powerful because literally as you're turning the pages, I can watch my mom go from 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, 20, just like that. And that had a pretty profound effect on me, to be honest. It was, in a lot of ways, I've never felt as close to my mom and my grandma as I did in those moments. And I feel like making that really strengthened our relationship a bunch. I feel like that's an understatement. Just learning about the context from which I'm coming from or from which I came was, it was almost spiritual in a lot of ways. There are a lot of times as I was editing it where I just had to like take a break because like this is kind of overwhelming right now. So yeah. So first, what's your name and your age?
Joyce Marie Sparks, February 6, 1941.
How old does that make?
That makes me 79.
But did I ask you this? Do you ever get sad when you think about the past?
If you asked me that.
Okay, good.
And I told you, it's just a limited sadness. It's a fleeting moment in time.
When people like look at all you achieved, what do you think they're seeing? What do you think you're looking
I think people are looking at the fact that I'm a phenomenal woman. I've been able to create what I created basically 85% by myself, and I'm proud of that.
at? Do you ever feel as if you're not appreciated? And if so, why?
No, because
Did you ever feel like you weren't appreciated in the past?
if I felt like I wasn't appreciated, I got over it because I know my worth. So I'm not gonna be specific about that because if I felt like I was appreciated, it only lasts for a few minutes.
That's funny.
Not enough to worry about it. Not enough to be worried about it.
There's a lot of happy moments, but I know it wasn't just all happy moments. I know it was hard.
Yeah.
What was Mom like, or Kim? What was Kim like when she was growing up?
She was very independent. She was driven. She knew she had like a mild dyslexic disorder, but she was driven to achieve, and she succeeded. So, and in fact, she will not even admit that she has a disability. One of my saddest moments was letting Kimberly stay with her father. The school system that was better for her was the school system where her father lived.
What was Uncle Ronnie like when he was growing up?
He was a very good son.
When I look at Uncle Ronnie, he's definitely the toughest.
He appeared to be the toughest, but he's the sweetest.
What was Aunt Denise like?
You know your Aunt Denise. She had a rebellious streak, driven as far as what she wanted to do. She had a photographic memory, but she didn't use it.
What was Auntie Iris like when she was growing up?
Auntie Iris, she being the last child and having such a big age gap, I had to be her rescuer. Because Ronald, Denise, and Kimberly, they were strict on her.
So do you think love is worth the heartbreak?
Yes. Even if it's just a love for a slice of pizza.
So you would tell people to...
Even though my favorite song is What's Love Got to Do with it? Falling in love. It's fun.
What do you see when you look at your grandchildren? Or what do you see in us?
A lot of potential, that's for sure. And I'm quite interested in which avenue you're going to travel in life. Everybody has their own built-in time travel. In my children, I see things that I wish I was at their age.
Now, how much of Mom do you see in me and Jaden?
I see a lot. If you don't fit the mold, create a mold.
Is there anything you're scared of?
Snakes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a lot of the times whenever in a lot of ways, I think that's my favorite thing I've ever made, in the sense that I have the impression that out of all of the things I've made so far, that one's gonna have the biggest impact, because like, if I ever get to the point where I want to have kids, and I do have kids, the idea of just showing them that and so is pretty, like, it's just pretty powerful, you know. I don't know, especially in a lot of ways, I feel like that is my grandma's essence, which pales in comparison to the real woman. So, but yeah, I really do have a lot of. That always brings a smile to my face when I watch that.
I think it's an incredible portrayal of her. I know you and Derek are going to talk about this film later, so I'll let you guys get into it after this, but thank you for sharing that and making it for the show, because it has affected a lot of us. So even outside of your family, I feel like it's very impactful. So, all right, we have one little film left to show.
Yeah, so that one is Cleft Lip Boy. That one was made for a project for the Studio Museum in Harlem / the Museum of Modern Art. I feel you'll probably be able to tell after watching it, but if I remember correctly, I'm making these around the same time. In fact, Cleft Lip Boy has an excerpt from Moments Slip Through Our Hands Like Water. And there's a cool little story I have that I'll save for afterwards, about like presenting it with this program with the Museum of Modern Art and all that. But yeah, yeah, I feel like to characterize the next one, it's just a little bit more narcissistic. It almost feels like I'm just adding myself into the equation of what came before. So. So yeah, for that piece, the constraints were it had to be 2 minutes or under without dialogue, and your own original score if you could use it. So that was a bit more of a struggle for me to make, just because without my grandma's words, I feel like that changes the feeling of what's presented, you know. If I feel like moments slip through our hands like water, very much feels like an interior experience, whereas with Cleft Lip Boy, it almost feels as if you're on the outside looking in. At least that's my impression of it. But yeah, it was that was a struggle to make, just because it required, I think, a lot of vulnerability. That even though I would say I probably was ready for it, I just wasn't, I was scared of going there. So, but yeah.
Well, Ellis, I think I can speak for everybody else here today. Amazing job. Great work. Great work. I was joking with you earlier, and I guess maybe a few days ago when we met, but I wish I was as cool and as poised and as focused or driven, I feel, as you were, or are when I was a senior in high school. I mean, in college. I mean, it's amazing the work that you're already creating. Really.
Thank you. You know, I feel like you're gassing me up, because seriously, I'm not that special.
We'll get into we'll really get into some of my questions for moments to slip through your hand like water, because I mean that piece really just, I mentioned it to you. It's also emotional for me to watch, because I reflect on it in my own life, and it makes me think about why I got into photography in the art form. So so your work is doing that at a young age to me who has some years on you. So that's really cool. That's really cool. So I'm excited to get to ask you a few questions today. I will start by saying, for those of you who are in the audience, please, as you can go ahead, if there are any questions that are on your mind, please jot them in the chat now as we're sort of having our conversation. You don't have to wait till the end. I have prepared a few questions, but really, as I was mentioning to Ellis, I just really wanted this to be a conversation, not really just a question to answer. I have sort of a script of questions that I want to ask, but if he mentions something that sort of throws it off, that's where we're going to kind of have sort of just an open conversation between artists. So yeah, feel free to jump in, ask any questions in the chat, and then there will be a time at the end for your questions to be asked. But kind of just starting right off, Ellis, and you kind of mentioned this in some of your intros, but have you always envisioned yourself as a filmmaker, or did it start at a young age, or was it something that really started with, but I wanted to be a cowboy?
It was, I would say I didn't fully realize it until much later. I remember my first 2 years of college was a struggle for me. So the reason I took a gap year was because the last semester before I took a gap year, I had a 1.9 GPA. It was a mess. And it was very much because I was trying to fit into that STEM mold. And it just quite clearly just wasn't for me. So realizing I wanted to be a filmmaker, I had always had an interest in it, but with a society that I feel like is very much driven by how much money you can make, I was just like, yeah, I'm not really trying to do that, until eventually, the reason why I feel like but I wanted to be a cowboy was the start of that path, was giving in to that, all right, me fighting it is clearly having very negative consequences, I'm literally about to flunk out of college. So what have I got to lose at that point? Yeah.
That's awesome. How do you come up with your ideas? Do they sort of come to you and you just go with it, or do you sort of have a notebook and just jot them down and kind of let them develop and marinate for a little while? How do you sort of develop, how you want to work on a project?
Yeah. You asking this actually makes me think of this quote by Toni Morrison, I think. And somebody asked her if she wrote every day, and she was like, no, but I think every day. And that I feel like sums up my process. It's a lot of daydreaming, and if I come back to the idea quite clearly, there's something that's drawing me to that idea, worth exploring. And I also want to mention, music has a very big impact on me. I'm definitely going to bring up Kendrick Lamar at one point. Right now, I guess. I feel like he's one of this century's one of the greatest writers. I feel like saying anything less would be a disservice to him, seriously. But yeah, music, art, and if I just keep coming back to that idea, that's usually how things get started for me. And also prompts, because the prompt from McGuffey Art Center would not have been, I would have never come up with Moments to Throw Our Hands Like Water without the prompt. Yeah.
That's really cool. I want to hit on music in a few minutes too, because there's something interesting I found in that piece with the music, but I'll ask that in a second. Do you have any themes that you always like to work with, or does your work sort of carry any thematic sort of, themes, I guess?
It's a good question. When it comes to themes, I feel like I want to say no, but I will say when it comes to writing my characters, they always are going through some interior struggle. I feel like Jalen's character, But I Wanted to Be a Cowboy, kind of shows that. But when it comes to themes, I don't think so. But I would say all of my characters, though, if there's like a common trait, all of my characters are just battling demons.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. That's amazing. Are you tied to creating a narrative in your films, or do you feel like the embodiment of moments or segments or different phases of time sort of help tell the story in your films?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I am tied to narrative in the um, in the writing process, very much so. Like, yeah, I need to hit this, I need to hit this, I need to hit this. But once it comes to like being on set, it's just making that moment work. And I'm completely okay with going off script if it serves the moment, you know. And well, maybe I should ask you, like, when it comes to photography, do you feel? I feel like photographers don't get enough credit for the work they do, especially when it comes to, I want to say, giving up to the moment. Do you find yourself doing that with your photography?
Absolutely. And I think this is maybe my style of photography. I consider myself a documentarian, you know, a documentary photographer. So with that being said, I always love to shoot in the moment. I'm not a big, I do family photos. I don't love to pose people. I like to just experience the moment. And so that's how I create. And I feel my best work comes in that sort of, you know, atmosphere. So I'm with you. I'm with you there for sure.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the prompts, and speaking specifically of our show, you know, Water, the Agony and Ecstasy of the Black Experience. So you had not created the piece Moments Through Your Hands, through our hands like water before the show. So that prompt really did trigger that piece. How did that idea come about? Like how did you, you know, how was that the piece of art that you thought of and sort of presented for the show?
Because when it comes to, immediately the prompt made me think of my experience, and my experience in my life so far has been definitely defined by family. You know, my mom, my grandmother, who I think are I have the highest regard to them. Like, if God is like right here, my mom and grandma are like up here. Seriously, I had that much love for them. I owe a lot to them, everything, to be honest. And that prompt made me think of their experience, because I know their experiences, even in the photos are very heartwarming, but there is, for me, some context behind those, you know. There's almost like this two stories, the one you're seeing and the one that's happening in backstage, you know. So that prompt really made me think of just trying to capture their past. Specifically, this Moments Slip Through Our Hands Like Water is more about my grandma's past, but just trying to capture both of their past, and opening up the family picture books, as I said, had a very profound effect on me. There's this filmmaker who quoted someone else, but her name is Garrett Bradley, and she says the role of the Black Family Archive is, no, not the role, but they're extremely important, because they're one of the few instances where we get to document ourselves, how we view ourselves, as opposed to someone documenting us, you know. And that's when she said that, it's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So I went on a little bit of a tangent, but hopefully I answered.
No, I think that was absolutely powerful. I mean, that's so powerful. I had never heard that before, but I mentioned this to you when we met earlier this week. Like that story, or that piece totally made me think about why I started liking photography and why it was so. I mean, personally, I know it was your family and your grandmother and your mom and your aunts and then yourself that you were talking about, but I felt so connected because it just remembered I used to be the kid that would go to my family's house and pull up the photo album and look through and ask the questions, and then I've also, you know, I've lost my grandparents and my mother, and so like seeing that piece of art makes me think of like that is such a special personal piece of art that will just live on forever, as you mentioned, something that you can pass on to your, you know, kids if you decide to have kids. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. So
Thank
um, speaking of water, though, do you find that that is a theme that you've used before, or you know, are you drawn to water at all? Just out of curiosity.
you. I will say maybe, because there's this short story I wrote called Moonlight on the River, and that very much has to do with water, and it's yeah, I will say it probably does come up more than I realize, or which is interesting. I haven't really given it too much thought, but I mean, living so I went to Gloucester High School, and I live in Gloucester, Virginia when I'm not in school, and that's very much like the water is very much connected to the culture there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised with it. So yeah, yep, it definitely does. It definitely does come up.
You mentioned your strong connection and closeness with your family. Could you see yourself sort of expanding on that short film and doing something bigger with other parts of your family?
Yes. Actually, as I was making, as I was like finishing it, I feel like I still revisit it sometimes. But as I was finishing it, I really struggled with like finding an endpoint, because it's like this story is literally still happening. You know, it's literally still happening, and I didn't know where to stop. So a lot of the times I feel like I was scared that it would feel rushed. But yeah, I can definitely see myself revisiting that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I am being conscious of time. I do want to leave some time for other questions. I got quite a few more, but so am I good to keep going? Okay, cool. I got the thumbs up. Music. I do want to hit on music though, because I really found that it was really interesting how the music you used the music in that piece. It went in and out. And did you make that? Did you make the music for yourself for this piece?
Yes. The process for the music, like I learned like a couple songs on piano, so like I can't just straight like go to town, you know. But I really wanted to just find like a simple melody. And for whatever reason in my mind, I was like, this has to feel like going through the moments like very quickly, or like you know how like sometimes you'll just be like, I want to say laying in your bed and the past just comes to you and just flashes.
Mhm.
I wanted the music to feel like that. And it it's kind of weird how it came about, because it's literally like 1 a.m. and my little like piano's on the carpet of my floor, and I'm just like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. Then somehow my right hand gets involved, and I'm just like, that sounds kind of nice. And that's how it happened. I don't know. That was completely outside of me, to be honest. I had no control out of that, I think. So
It was so cool. I mean, I love it. It was present and part of the movie, and then it went away, and it was just it perfectly played with the beautiful words from your grandmother.
thank
And
you.
man, if I've watched that one so many times, there are some very powerful things that are said in there. So some very very amazing quotes. So I did want to ask one random question about but I wanted to be a cowboy.
Mhm.
The scene where your friends are flipping the bottle
Mhm.
and they bet 25 cents that he couldn't get it to stand up. To me, that's the most random thing because 25 cent, who bets 25 cent
Yeah.
anymore? So was that in the script or was that sort of just kind of, how did that come about?
Yeah. So in the script, it's written, Jalen and Pa take a break after work. So I presented that to Jalen and Pa, and I was like, what does that moment look like? And we're just gonna try to capture it. And this is why they're literally geniuses. They just freestyled that whole conversation. And it's that's why I say they're definitely gonna be at the Oscars one day. Like they're I remember telling Paul this. I was like, dude, I don't think you understand. This is amazing. Like what you two are doing. Like to me, at least in my opinion, when making a film like that, I can only bring but so much. But a lot of that is up to the actors, you know. And they made me look good, you know, like you know what I mean. Like I feel like in terms of directing, I'm very much a novice and I don't know what I'm doing, and I tend to make mistakes. But they more than made up for my mistakes. I would say that they make that film, honestly. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you say that because I think it's beauty in both sides, right? Because I thought that was written in the script, and the fact that they just kind of freestyle definitely gives them a lot of credit because it was just so natural. But it's also special that you trusted them enough to like just say, give sort of an open-ended thing, and they just and let them create. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So just a few more questions. Definitely want to talk about you're about to graduate and you have a degree in English. Do you find that sort of there's a connection between sort of your academic sort of love for English and writing and your filmmaking? Is there sort of a connection there?
Definitely. And I will say one of the reasons why I really value that background and degree is because when you're a director, you're literally interpreting images into visuals. That's what you're doing. And I mean, not images, but you're literally interpreting words into visuals, you know? And that studying English at JMU has, which the English department is amazing. You know, I owe a lot to them. They've shown me a wide variety of what stories can look like and how you can interpret those, you know, like, so for example, when you're writing, I'm about to write an essay soon, so this is why I'm thinking about it. But when you're writing an essay, you literally have to come up with your interpretation and your argument, you know, and yeah, English and filmmaking are almost like this. I almost can't differentiate the two. They're so closely intertwined for me, at least. So
that's awesome. So what's next? Where do you see yourself going from here with filmmaking? And do you have any other current projects that you're working on right now, or ideas that you're sort of thinking about?
Yeah, when it comes to what's next, grad school, which I had the pleasure of getting into recently. And then also there's this project, Kendrick Lamar. So I'm listening to How Much a Dollar Cost, which is just a very powerful song. And it's a song that really, it spurs up a story I keep coming back to. And a story that I think I would like to add to, which is, if I had to say if I had a next project, that might be it. Might be. But yeah, there's a lot of ideas going on in my mind, but we'll see. you know.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So a few last sort of fun ones. Just not necessarily directed at your current work, but just because I'm curious. What's your favorite genre of movie, or do you have a favorite film?
Yes, yeah. Let's see, I actually have. So this is my favorite movie. Um, it's my favorite. So if I had to characterize my favorite films, they're definitely dramas, and they're about people. They're people centered. Um, I just I just find people interesting. You know, I like hearing their stories. So dramas. So I guess character dramas. You know, um, like so for example, Moonlight, which is one of my favorite movies ever, definitely had a big impact on what I wanted to be a cowboy. Like the idea for ending on close-ups comes from Moonlight. So I love movies like those for sure.
Cool. Really cool. If you could work with 3 artists, any genre, I mean, in any way, who would they be? Any ideas?
Yeah.
And that's a question to ask an artist.
I would Kendrick Lamar. Have to. I feel like I mean his first, or not his first, but his second album, Good Kid, Mad City. On the album artwork, it literally says a short film by Kendrick Lamar. So I feel like he definitely. I feel like we could. It would be interesting. It would be very interesting. Another one would have to be Barry Jenkins, or maybe not even necessarily work with him, but see him work.
Okay.
I just feel like he's amazing. I feel like his work, especially, I keep bringing up Moonlight, but also If Beale Street Could Talk, really opened up doors for a lot of Black filmmakers, you know. Then another filmmaker is, I really love Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee. Nice. So I might have to go with Spike. Yeah, I would love to work with those 3. Or not even maybe work with them, but just see them work or hear their thoughts, you know. I would pay a lot of money for that.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. So last sort of thing as we wrap up here, and definitely if there's any questions from the audience, want to take those. But where can we find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, the best place would probably be my Vimeo. Sadly, I don't have like a presence on social media just because I quickly fall into like addiction of it, so like scrolling mindlessly. So I was like, let me just delete it, you know. But Vimeo is probably the best place to find out. I'm eventually I do need to probably get like a website, but I'm a broke college kid right now, and a lot of times you have to pay for like the domain name, and I'm not doing all that, you know. So yeah.
Well, man, this has been an absolute pleasure for me. I'm honestly, selfishly, so glad that I was able or asked to be the moderator for this, and now that we have a relationship and a connection, because I definitely want to keep these communication lines open, because I'm really excited about seeing how your work evolves over the next few years, honestly. So
thank you, seriously, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Shri, Brielle, any questions that?
Yeah, we first of all, thank you both so much for such a beautiful conversation that we all got to witness. Really, really awesome. And there are a couple, I think there are a couple little questions in here, as well as just some comments that you should read, Ellis. So make sure that you make it through this before we part ways. But let's see here. I think the first one is, I was so pulled into, this is from Karen, I was so pulled into When I Wanted to Be a Cowboy. Great work. How did you decide the setting being rural?
Thank you, Aunt Karen, for the question. And when it came to the rural setting, that was just the film that that film was just filmed at my house. So like the surrounding property. And with the first images that came to my mind, it was the rural setting. It couldn't be anywhere else, you know. I feel like there's a certain aspect of working your days away in that film, you know, that I feel like only really translated in that rural setting. And, you know, I feel like I'm biased towards that because I was partly raised in that rural setting, you know. So, but yeah, it was very much integral to the work, you know, especially when it comes to like the labor that they're doing, you know, and the monotony that goes with that. So it was almost intuitive, that choice, I would say.
Awesome. Let's see here. I would love, Karen also asked you to just expand a little bit on the blurry moments, which she read into, but would love to hear more about from you.
Yeah. Part of that is because just like budget wise, it was there are certain things we didn't have access to that would really like help things feel more pristine, but also what I was conscious of was how can I play into that. And one way I read it is that the things didn't come fully into fruition for Pa until those boots fit, because everything's out of focus until Pa finally realizes the boots fit him, and then now we're in focus. So when it comes to like, I don't know what happens after that moment, but I just know that emotionally things feel clear after that, you know? So that's how I read the blurry moments. It's a very very out of focus film, but I think there are definitely many ways to read it, for sure.
Amazing. I wanted to throw in, as I look for another question, that McGuffey can't take credit for the theme of the show or writing the really beautiful prose that inspired you, because that was definitely Corey Price and the CBAC put together the theme. So we are truly just hosting it. But Corey came up with a little paragraph that was used, and then the whole curation committee came up with the theme. So I just wanted to throw them flowers because it was such an awesome, cohesive, beautiful theme. But let's see here. Yeah, I think so. Sri put in your Vimeo link. If anybody wants that, feel free to copy that. And then we have a couple comments that I'm happy to share with you. First of all, sorry, I'm trying to scroll here people are just happy to see you. Let's see. Then you have a comment from under Quinn's name, but says, "Hey Ellis, it's Sophie. Would love to chat with you about a video editing internship if you are interested." Yeah, so get in touch with her. And then I threw in a couple comments just while you guys were talking about the theme of water and whether you use it in your work. It's really funny because I think because I've got water on the mind from this show, I saw the water bottles in But I Wanted to Be a Cowboy, and they are throughout the whole little film, little short film. And I can't help but notice them and this cohesiveness of that. And it was just really interesting because when you were talking about it, I was like, there was water in
Yeah,
that one too.
I didn't think of that either.
Yeah, it was cool. It kind of anchors it, literally anchors it in the scene where they're playing, because it's like this gravity thing. And then it's what he's like interacting with when he's in the woods and he's looking for the boots. And I don't know, it felt, the moments with the water felt meaningful. And I was like, this is so interesting. And then I also just made a little comment that is just that I think when Derek, you were talking about asking Ellis if he was going to expand the series of moments slip through our hands like water. I feel like we could all listen to you interview your grandmother for like 3 hours or more. That could be an ongoing installation in a space that people could just choose to sit in for 6 hours of like presence and like, I don't know, just reminder of everything that is good. So just wanted to say that too, because I think you could expand that as much as you wanted in any direction and it would be successful. People love the music. I also noticed when you, in that film, the way that you choose when you flip the photos and how the speeds of that changes. There's this really beautiful relationship between what your grandmother is talking about, the beat of the music, or just the notes when the notes hit, and the intention of when the photos change. And it really creates the notes that you were able to find, even if you if you feel like you were almost moved from the outside to find them, they emotionally are really effective. And there is a tumbling feeling about them that's almost like you're in water, but it's also, and like you're flipping through memories, but it's also really soothing. I don't know, it was such a cool combination of notes. I was actually going to ask you where you found it if it wasn't written by you, because I was like, what is this magical music? So just some comments. And then Marie Tati says, I appreciate what I perceived as a very subtle homoerogenous banter between the two characters, but I wanted to be a cowboy. I think it's important to depict attraction in its many ways across the spectrum as possible, because that's how sexuality and sensuality show up in us as humans. I just really appreciated the subtle actions between them, especially the cowboy's gift of the magical boots to his friend at the end.
Definitely, definitely. And I never thought of that, but that's definitely very much there. At least how I think of sexuality is very much a spectrum. You know what I mean? I never thought about that. I feel like when it comes to sensuality, I'm a very sensual person, but I feel like in terms of filmmaking, I very much owe that to, like I said, Barry Jenkins, because Moonlight has had a profound effect on me. So maybe that is the inklings from that film in here. Yeah.
We don't get a lot of glimpses into the intimacy between like male friends either. And I think that like that is something that's super beautiful about this film, is just this quiet intimacy that is something that isn't portrayed a lot. So yeah, thank you.
It's interesting because like, so I'm very much, I'm a straight man, but like me going out to like, so like I'll go out to dinner with me and one of my friends. And it's so interesting when I tell people that, it's just like, just you and your homeboy. It's like, yeah, just me and him. Like, I don't see the big deal about that. So I think you're right to touch on that, because I think because this, can I put this? There's this idea of how can I put this? Because I think people are uncomfortable with seeing very close relationships between men. You know, I feel like there's a tendency to erase that relationship in a lot of ways. I feel like, you know, and not give the relationship the credit that's due, if that makes sense. So.
Totally. And when I was saying intimacy too, I feel like intimacy takes many forms, sometimes friendship, sometimes relationship, but like you just don't get to see even friendship that often depicted. And so, yeah, I think it's beautifully sort of vague, but also like, it doesn't need to be more than exactly what you made it, which is awesome. So, well, everybody, I think that's all of our questions. Do you have anything you wanted to add, or anywhere you want to direct people or anything? Ellis?
Yeah. I will leave my email just because I feel like there's so few ways to contact me. But that's my email. I try to check it pretty regularly. So I don't know, I'm available or open. So there's my info if you ever need to contact me. So
Awesome.
yeah.
We also need to, I'm gonna throw you out into the audience here and just say that you got into Columbia Film School, which is really awesome. It wasn't just grad school, it's Columbia Film School. So
I'm
we
very
won't say it, but we will. We all have to keep our eye on you. But yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Ellis. And thank you so much, Derek, for your amazing conversation and questions. And
seriously. And thank you so much, Bree and Sri.
yeah. And thank you all who showed up today. We do have a couple little closing announcements before you go, but the fun part, the really fun part is over. But basically all we've got to talk about is just what is coming up next at McGuffey. Our current artist in residence, Natalie Cox, will be hosting open studio hours this weekend. So today she was there and she'll be there tomorrow, Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. Visitors to McGuffey Art Center are welcome to stop by the residency studio space. She's in Studio 24 upstairs on the second floor. To come see some of her work that she's developed during her time in the residency program. She's been in the residency this month and was there last month as well. Natalie Cox is a painter who works with acrylic paint and ink on canvas or paper to create both small and large scale abstract landscapes. Her work consists of non-representational landscape and portal-like compositions that create an illusionistic world that allow the viewer to decide the forms that are familiar to them. She has been in the residency program for the past 2 months. We will be hosting a virtual artist talk with her on April 8th at 5:30 p.m. She'll share some of the work she's created during her time in the residency space and speak a little bit about her process and materials. You can register to attend this virtual talk through our main website. It's actually on the front page. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, that's where our RSVPs are. And it'll be somewhat similar to this one. And our last virtual event for the water exhibition will be a virtual poetry reading with poet Larry Degiles on April 4th from 2 to 3 p.m. During this virtual event, Mr. Giles will perform some poetry from his most recent book, Father Tree Water, collected poems and photographs of the Rappahannock mind, body, spirit. Moderated through a short Q&A, Giles will also share with us about some of the themes relating to his work and his creative growth. You can register to attend the artist talk through our main website as well. Water, the Agony and Ecstasy of the Black Experience is still on display at McGuffey Art Center until tomorrow. You can still come see the exhibition during McGuffey's public hours, which are Wednesday through Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. If you aren't able to catch the exhibition in person, it is on display online for our website, mcguffeyartcenter.com. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a lovely Sunday. And thank you again, Ellis. It's so nice to meet you. Can't wait to stay in touch.